My evaluation shouldn't be determined by students who are constantly absent and don't give a fuck. So if you don't know, teachers go through evaluations, and usually it's like 2 formal observations where you have to like do this write-up with like what standards you're teaching and what objectives you wish to meet, how you're going to go about teaching the subject for the day. And then there's like 2 more informals where the principal just pops in and just takes a look at what you're doing for the day. No write-up, nothing like that. But it looks like this person's evaluation probably didn't go too well. And most likely because there are kids who are constantly absent, and so it looks like they're not learning anything, or they don't give a shit about school. So when the admin comes in, all they see is a teacher who can't get their kid under control. Did you put the objectives on the board where the scholars could see them? That's the supposed key ingredient to building a perfect classroom. Yeah. Dude, this is such a big thing 10 years ago in teaching. If your objectives aren't on the board when the kids walk into the room, they're not going to know what to do at all. Schools have this weird fucked up thing where they see one study says this one thing is going to help schools, and they just beat it to death. They make everybody do it over and over and over and over again to the point where it means nothing. Like, I remember I was doing, like, at the beginning of a school year, I was doing some lesson. It was called Saving Sam. And it's basically a team building lesson where you take like a gummy worm and you put it under a plastic cup thing. And the only thing you can use to save Sam, the worm, and put it on top of the cup, not a safety pin, a paper clip, and a rubber band. That's all you get. And you're supposed to basically work with someone to like flip the cup over, which is the boat, and then you have to put Sam on top of the boat so that he's not drowning, right? There's no standards for that. There's no science-based standards for that particular lesson. It's just an icebreaker / team building exercise. And I remember my admin at the time wanted me to put some type of objective on the board, and like the standards and the objectives. Like, what are you talking about, man? It's just team building. Like, it's not that hard. Behavior issues are really focused on here in the school system. They try to nip it in the bud, like learning healthy emotional awareness control. They're really focused on teaching them boundaries, what's acceptable and what's not. We've moved towards that too. We do a lot of SEL, social emotional learning now. The problem is you have 30 kids in a classroom. You really can't teach that. Plus, some kids, it's too many kids to effectively teach something that should be taught to 12 kids at a time. And it works for some years. Like, I've had some years where it really worked out great and the kids were awesome. And I've had other years where the kids were just awful. Didn't give a fuck. They came from such broken homes that, like, there's nothing you could tell them to make them want to try. I think here a teacher can have at maximum 15 kids. That would be the dream. Maximum 15, no more. But I remember one year I had 32. That was a fucking nightmare, man. It was a fucking nightmare. 32 kids by myself, no teaching aid. And I had kids that were like, so in my district, I'm known as the teacher that doesn't send kids out of the classroom. I generally try to solve everything myself, and I don't send kids downstairs. If I have to, I will. But usually, even if I have to, I'll deal with it on my own. And so what the admins have picked up on is that I'm the teacher that they can put all the problem kids in. Like the problem kids will go to my class because they know I'll have, in their words, I'm more likely to be able to handle their behavior. And it's just a nightmare every time, man. And I do think I'm better equipped to deal with that too, but it's just like, sometimes just treat me like everybody else. Since the pandemic, the kids who are absent from school, the rate of that has just jumped up so much. I've got students right now who haven't been to my class in over 2 weeks. And our school goal or our objective for the trimester is to try and raise grades, make sure kids aren't failing. Like, how? They haven't learned anything. So now they come in more than halfway through the unit and they have to take a test now. Of course they're gonna fail. And then they're like, oh, did you differentiate? I can't differentiate for 2 weeks, man. And then not only that, I've got kids who are refugees from different countries. I've got kids from like Venezuela, Colombia, fucking the Ukraine, Germany, everywhere. One of my classes has 9 fucking refugees, and I feel for them, but they don't know English. So when I try to teach them, nothing sticks, and then they fail everything. Granted, when I put grades in, I make sure it's not graded for them, like it doesn't count against them. They can see what their grade is, but on the report card it'll say NG, which is no grade, because they shouldn't be graded on like what, you know, the scale of what a 6th grade should be able to do when they've been here for less than a year. But then it's like, why are they in my classroom, man? Why are you stuffing all these kids in my classroom? And I understand we don't have the funding to get another teacher that is going to teach them English from grade 1. But then they get mad when we don't see like growth with these kids, and it's just like I'm teaching 6th grade level writing. You cannot teach a kid to write in 1 year if they don't know the English language. Especially at my level, like writing their name, sure. Writing a basic sentence, sure. They can't do an argumentative essay, which is the last unit I did. They can't do an informative writing assignment. Classes have 2 main teachers, like bullying seen as weak and standing up for others as brave and takes courage. You know, in America, the culture is so weird. Kids know that bullying is it's like kids who bully come from homes where they might be bullied and they have some real problems, but they still do it anyway just because like the internet culture of like roasting people and shitting on people. Every profession is viable. Everyone has a place in society. I think it's easier, and I'm not trying to talk down about Norway, but I think it's easier to have a society like that when there's less people to govern. The problem with America is there's so many states, and all the states have to answer to the federal government, and the federal government has their own like expectations for how the people should be governed, so everything's just all over the place. Do you have to give kids 50% on their work, turned in, not turned in, cheating, whether they get a 0 or 50%? So what we're told is we have to reach out to the parents, and as long as we've tried to reach out to the parents, we can fail them. Otherwise, we have to pass them or make it no count, which is fair. Because I should be telling parents if their kids are failing, but that's only because we have new admin. They've only been around for like 1-2 years. Before that, we had a principal that was like, you have to make sure they did a retake and all this, and if you didn't, then they passed no matter what. That was bullshit. And then my cheating policy is, if you get caught cheating, you get 1 chance to retake it, and if I catch you cheating again, you're never retaking anything again. And luckily, again, my admin has my back, so that policy sticks. The only time I give in with those types of policies is when they're like a special ed kid, or that, you know, they have an IP that dictates that they get multiple tries to do so. We're a small population. If they fail, we're a small population. Yeah, because you're a small population, I think it's easier to manage that. If they fail, will they be caught up on track again? No, there's no time for it. Once I've moved on from a unit, I'm on, you know, I'm not going back. My curriculum is not cumulative, if that makes sense. Like, you can't learn how to write an objective summary and have that transfer over to writing a claim evidence reasoning paper on theme. I mean, the basic mechanics of writing, sure, but like they're 2 very different things. Math, maybe. The lowest grade we're allowed to give is a 50% on anything. That's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. And you know what? What I hate about schools right now is that they're always talking about like research-based strategy making and decision making. And so somewhere along the line, there was research that like letting kids know that they can't fail helps their self-esteem, and so they're more likely to do better. But there's recent research now that says doing this also makes it so that some kids will never learn from their mistakes, and then when they're put out into the real world where they can actually fail, get fired, lose their job, get kicked out of their home, fucking go to jail, they tend to have this huge, like, what's the word? Not like deer in the headlights type of thing, but like they get crushed by the real world because they've been propped up by the education system to think that they'll you know, they're always going to be given second chances. And then college comes around, and dude, colleges don't give a fuck. You don't pass that test, you're not getting your money back. You're just failing. You're out. See ya. And then they get upset. I feel like we're if you want this type of society where like nobody can fail and we really want to help the kids find whatever it is they're good at, the modern school system in America does not fucking do that for them. You cannot use that ideology in this profession the way it is now. Which is why I really hate a lot of like modern, so I'm not very articulate when I have to like say this stuff on the spot, but like modern philosophy, is that the right word? Modern philosophy towards like, or about teaching and like perfecting society and like giving everyone a chance to succeed. You just can't do that with modern schools, like the modern education system. Real life sucker punch, so off to the military, go homeless. Yeah, you know the problem too though with the military? Dude, people join the military and just get absolutely fucked. They get all these promises about like the pay and like how school's gonna be paid off for them. They're gonna get free college. And some of them don't get it because the army will find a way to either kick them out before they get that, or there's like one little item on this checklist of things that they have to do to get that free college, and then they just don't go homeless. And I don't know if you've heard about America, but being homeless is essentially a crime now. I mean, that's a very extreme way of putting it, but like there's criminalization of homelessness now. So if you're like in a tent and stuff like that, they'll like either arrest you or they'll like destroy your tent and tell you to get the fuck out. So we're not even trying to help people that are homeless. We're just like saying, hey, get the fuck out of our city. I live in the suburbs of Chicago. And in this suburb, I've been coming to this suburb for years as a kid. And there were never any homeless people begging or anything like that. If you go to the highways around here, about 3 years ago, there was maybe one person begging. If you go now, there's a mall called Woodfield. If you go to the highways around there now, you see people begging at every corner. I shit you not. The other weekend, I was driving back from my parents' place. I saw one person on the on-ramp, off-ramp, in the middle of the street that was, you know, going away from the highway ramps. I saw a person on the other side of that. There were four sets of people begging. It's insane. And maybe I shouldn't get political here, but I really don't care. We're sending $100 billion to Israel and Ukraine. Why? Like, we can't even take care of our own people, man. Dude, you go to fucking Philadelphia or San Francisco, Oregon, there's people fucking tripping just all over the place, just zombified because of fentanyl and like all these designer drugs. And I realize that those places have decriminalized drugs, but like that was a bad decision, man. Now you just have these people ruining their lives. It didn't, you know that argument of like, if you make it illegal, it's just going to make it more dangerous for people to get these drugs. People are going to get these drugs no matter what. It also kept some people from trying. And now that it's like decriminalized, people are just doing whatever drug they can get their hands on because the world fucking, like life fucking sucks in America right now for a lot of people. I've thought about showing those videos, but it makes me feel gross. When the going gets tough, somehow it's always the weakest in society's fault. Scapegoat. Yeah. Like, I know the protest against the genocide in Gaza yesterday at UCLA got violent, but think about the other protests that were happening at like the University of Austin, Columbia. Those were all peaceful protests, and they tried to villainize people that were protesting peacefully. That's why it got violent yesterday. Not because they were going to be violent already, but because like Joe Biden sent out, he said that it's, okay, I'm not going to get into it, but he said order must prevail. And then basically, I mean, you can go look this up yourself. He said, you're allowed to peacefully protest, but you can't cause chaos. People weren't causing chaos before. They were just protesting, and universities were calling the police on them. So now you have all these young people seeing, oh, the government really doesn't care about our rights to peacefully protest. And so now we're going to get violent. I mean, that's exactly what you said. They're blaming the weakest in society, and now the society's fighting back and they don't give a shit. There's always someone in the turn lanes on my drive home. Yeah, always. And it used to never be like that. 3 years ago, I saw one person. Now it's every corner of that the off ramp near that mall. It's crazy, man. So you guys see this every day. I don't, because I take local to work. But like when I do go to the highway to like, or go near the highways to go visit my parents and things like that, I see it all the time. And in Chicago, every time I drive down to Chicago now, there's fucking homeless encampments. There used to never be tents in Chicago. Lower Wacker Drive is filled with tents. And then the police come and kick them out, and then they come back. The nasty side of society every day. Now that it's warmer out, I do every day. Yeah. I don't get that shit, man. That's fucked up. I love that Chicago tries to be welcoming to everyone. Chicago's not perfect, but Chicago's a city that's tried, right? Especially with the whole, like, what's up, Zali? Or is it Ali or Zali? I'm not sure. But what's up? Chicago has this whole thing about being a sanctuary city, so anyone who's a refugee can come there. But the problem is they had so many refugees 6 months ago that those refugees were also now becoming part of that homeless encampment. They were living outside of the police station. Just rows and rows and rows of tents. And you know what they did? They put all those people on a bus, all the people that they said they were going to care for, they put them on a bus, sent them out to the suburbs. And then that suburb had too many, so they sent them out to my district. And now I told you in my last class, I have 9 fucking refugees that don't speak English. How am I supposed to teach those kids? I can't. It's like I'm about to cry. Like it's fuck. You know what the sad thing is? I don't know whether to believe these people or not. I saw a video or article about someone that was homeless but wasn't. They finished their shift and drove off in some nice car. So that's been happening for years. That's a thing that I remember watching back when I was in high school. People panhandling in like New York, New Orleans, things like that. People do that, but there are real large amounts of homeless people though. Like the rate of homelessness has just jumped. So are there people that do that type of stuff? that type of stuff. Yeah, for sure. There's always a scammer somewhere, but that's been happening for a long time. But I don't think that's a reason to like, if you're saying like that makes you doubt whether people are truly homeless, I don't think anyone would choose. I don't think those people are buying tents and putting them under the bridges. They're begging on the, like, near a Starbucks or something, and then they go home. Do you like get desensitized? Yeah, I do, but then it also comes back in waves, right? And I'll think about how fucked up everything is. But again, I saw this today and I was just like, what a load of shit. He condemns the violent anti-Israel protests. They were peaceful before, and then those peaceful protesters got arrested or fucking brutalized. And now they're getting violent. It's your fault for not stepping in sooner. And by the way, I'm not one of those Biden haters. I think every president has being a president is such a hard job. There's no way you're not going to get shit on by the public relentlessly. But this is his fault because he didn't step in sooner. I remember when I grew up, America and the American dream, it really looked like the land of opportunities. Like everyone wanted to go there and experience it, the land of the free. Yeah, it's not the land of the free. We like to say that. So basically the way you should look at it, the land of the free comes from like the revolution, like us getting rid of the British. And that's like finally, it was finally like we're free from them. We don't have to pay the British tax and all that stuff. And it just kept carrying on. But now we oppress our own people. And I do love this country. I don't want to live anywhere else. But like we just... what was it? Roe versus Wade was overturned. And I don't really care how anyone feels about abortion. If you don't agree with abortion, don't get one. But why do you have to take away that right for other people? You know, we had that. We've got right now, and the media is not reporting on this because, you know, why would they? They're all bought out by different companies. But like right now, there's a lot of different oil companies that are trying to build on native reservations. And the native people are so small in population that they don't really have a voice. I see all this stuff online, but I have to really search for it. And they're trying to like get rid of their lands and take away the rights that they were supposed to be given as like for reparations for what happened back in the day when we basically committed a genocide and killed most of the native people. And now they're getting fucked again because we need the land. We need the land. Fuck you. And the school shooting shit. I want you to understand something. I love guns. I have a lot of guns. But every time there's a school shooting, we just go around in circles. Ban guns. Don't ban guns. You're trying to take away our rights. You don't care about kids. There's one thing that pro-gun and anti-gun people both agree on, and it's that school shooters are mentally fucked up. So why aren't we investing more in mental health and rehabilitation? Why isn't it subsidized and free? Or why don't you have programs for people that can't afford it where it's free? They keep talking about mental health, but then it's like, it's so expensive. Dude, a 2-hour therapy session every 2 weeks costs $400 fucking dollars. At least in my area where I looked it up. Like it's crazy. I have faith in the new generation. Yeah. And I know I shouldn't only like use TikTok as my source, but like, dude, if you go on TikTok these days, the younger generation is really kind of learning like, oh, the government really doesn't kind of care for us. They're kind of bought out. The majority of people wanted a ceasefire in Gaza, and they wanted the politicians to say something about it, and the politicians didn't, even though that's what they're paid to do. Is if your constituents are saying, hey, we want this thing, then you have to do it for us because we voted you in. And now they're learning that both sides are just bought out by the same people. They're not going to forget this shit, right? All the young people that are currently protesting the genocide, they're not going to forget how the government handled this. And not only that, the price and rent, inflation, the job situations where you can't find anything, all this stuff. There's been a lot of evidence that like companies are now using AI to look through resumes. And when they don't want you, they don't even tell you, hey, I'm sorry, like, thank you for applying, but we at this time, we will not be looking to interview you any further. They just don't reply back. So like now people are learning like, yeah, the system's fucked and against us. I don't think the world's gonna, the United States is gonna change anytime soon either. I think it's gonna take some time, but yeah, the younger generation is definitely gonna grow up very different, and hopefully things change and get better for them. Because dude, even just like trying to buy a home, you can't do it. Rent, Rent is outrageous. Politicians are so old, they're ancient, yeah. And they don't represent our interests anymore. And these old politicians have so much money. Just fucking quit, man. Let the younger generation take over. The problem is some of these old fucks, and I'm just gonna talk off rip. None of this I can back up with the source, but I have a feeling some of these old fucks. So, I remember reading an article a while back where like a lot of like the budget for like, I don't know exactly what the name of it is, but like some of the budget for politicians and like Congress and stuff goes towards meals. And the meals aren't just like, you know, sandwiches and chips and pop. It's like steak and seafood and shit, right? I guarantee some of these politicians just love their lifestyle so much that they'll do whatever they can to just stay within their position. Because they like not only the power, but the benefits that come with it. So they'll just be bought out by anyone so that they can retain that position and keep eating fucking lobster. They'll be dead before any consequences will be shown, yeah. We have to live through that shit. And that's a part of why I don't want kids ever. It feels weird to want to raise kids and have to tell them, have fun with this fucked up life you'll be living. They just want to live it up till they're gone, yeah. Man, somehow we got to this conversation from my evaluation shouldn't be determined by students who are constantly absent and don't give a shit. That was a wild churn. It's funny how if a poor person tries to get benefits, they're a leech of society. Yes, you're about to say something that I completely agree with. But then when a rich person does it, or a person in power does it, it's a benefit of the job. They worked for it. They deserve it. And it's from our tax dollars. But they can't forgive student loan debt, or they can't take care of the homeless. They can't create more jobs. The rich try to churn every penny of the government. Like when you see all their stock trading. Yeah. Well, what's her name? Nancy Pelosi. I think she does a lot of insider trading. It's like, how is it legal for her to do that? And I think if you're going to be in politics and you're working for the people, you shouldn't be allowed to, you should not be allowed to invest in stock. Because it's so easy for you to get, not manipulated, but like to abuse the system. And like, yeah, I don't get why trading is legal when you're a politician. It shouldn't be a thing. Because that insider trading is a real thing, man. That's why Nancy Pelosi's always making money. Fucking witch. Old bitch. Hag. I'm gonna get banned. This is the day I get banned. Small streamer gets banned. America has lobbying too, which I think is crazy, yeah. And it just never stops. Everyone's bought out by the corporations. We're already living in Cyberpunk 2077. Just not as extreme, right? I guess I shouldn't say that. It is kind of extreme right now, but Cyberpunk is more of an extreme. There's... You know what I've always laughed at? Is like, in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, he is the one who signed the PICA Act into law. It's the Protect Illinois Communities Act, and it basically bans all firearms that are considered assault weapons. Do you know what his bodyguards use? The banned guns. So it's legal for him because he needs the protection, but the everyday people can't have it. And again, I don't know how you feel about guns. Again, I completely understand. I like guns, but I understand when people say that they don't like ARs and you know, submachine guns and things like that. I get it. But how can this guy ban all these guns and then his bodyguards are allowed to have them? Because you know they're not using 10 round magazines. They're using like 18 rounders for sure. That or they're carrying MP5s